Hi everybody, my name is Nate Stewart. I'm a mortgage broker down here with Collab Lending in Puerto Rico, and I wanted to make this quick video to kind of help demystify a lot of the aspects of buying real estate in Puerto Rico. We deal with a lot of clients that are local Puerto Ricans. We deal with a lot of clients that are Puerto Ricans that maybe grew up in the continental US and they're moving back, and we deal with a lot of folks that are coming to the island brand new. And so I wanted to hopefully make this video to answer some of the questions that we see most frequently when we're helping people purchase real estate, especially purchasing real estate with a mortgage or getting financing to get their goals achieved. The tip 0 out of the 10 is basically that PR Puerto Rico is different. It's a different culture, obviously a different language. There are a lot of differences. It's important to keep that in mind because while it is in certain circumstances considered part of the U.S., in other circumstances you'll see that it's not, and it does have its own culture, its own unique way of doing things. And so just having that fact in mind, no matter how much real estate you've purchased in other states or other places, just like if you were going to go to any other new place in the world and try to do something that you've done routinely, there are going to be differences. And so tip number 1, after that being like the bonus tip 0, tip number 1 is basically that don't blame the island for every single thing that's going to happen. It's a beautiful place. It has its own way of moving and doing things. But if you're going to get frustrated and start blaming Puerto Rico and blaming Puerto Ricans every time something doesn't go exactly like you were hoping, that is not a recipe for success for your transaction, nor just for being happy and enjoying this beautiful place. So keep those two things in mind as you're going forward. The next tip, number 2, is that you're going to see a lot of listings that say cash only. And so why is that? Why are there so many listings that are cash only? Well, speaking as a mortgage broker, and not to disparage the other lenders, but there's been many other lenders on the island that their way of doing business was basically just handing out pre-qualification letters like candy, and then turns out a lot of those people can't actually get to closing because once they got a pre-qualification letter super easy, turns out, they might have an issue on their taxes, they might have an issue with their qualifying income. Well, once the person goes under contract and then is trying to get to the closing table and then those things get discovered, that has created lots of problems in the past. And so our goal, at least at Collab, is to make sure we get all those things up front, make sure that we're able to pre-approve you. We've looked at the documents, we've looked at taxes if that's necessary. If it's a bank statement loan, we've looked at the statements and analyzed things that will give you a pre-approval letter that says we are very confident that we can get your deal to the closing table. So that's one of the reasons you're going to see a lot of listings are cash only. Another thing you're going to see, tip number 3, is not subject to appraisal. That's for different reasons. One is because, sellers, they don't want to go through a super long process with someone with a financed offer that's not going to get to close, and they don't want to include the chance that an appraisal is going to come in low and possibly break the deal. And so we have ways of that we can mitigate that. If you have a good, strong team, like a good agent that knows, where to set the offer, if you have a good loan officer that is able to help you in that process, if there is an appraisal gap, that's going to be a key to your success. But you're going to see that there are a fair number of listings that are cash only, no appraisal, not subject to appraisal. That's just the lay of the land. And so we're doing our best to try to make it so that if you bring a finance offer to the table, that sellers are going to start to pay attention to that because they'll know, okay, well, this is a good offer, and that we're not going to be dragged through weeks or months of a long process with issues and then not close at the end. That's one of the reasons. Is traditionally that's been too often the case. Tip number 4 would be if you're interested in purchasing a condo in Puerto Rico. To use financing to purchase a condo, it has to be what's called warrantable. And the short version of a long story is that about a year or so ago, there was a tragic collapse of a condominium in Surfside, Florida. It was really bad, killed almost 100 people. Likely you saw it on the news. And so the federal government stepped in after that. They identified that one of the big reasons that happened was that the residents and the owners of those condos, they were not making their association payments in full or on time, and so the finances of that association got into a bad situation. They weren't able to pay for maintenance, and then it led to this tragic collapse. So one way to discourage those kinds of things and prevent those kinds of things from happening in the future was the federal government said, okay, we will no longer allow mortgages to be bought on condos unless they're so-called warrantable. And warrantable has a lot of different criteria, but the main things to keep in mind is the condo association has to, have its regular meetings and the minutes up to date. It has to be having its finances well in order. It needs to be, making sure that if people aren't paying their dues, that they're getting chased down to do so, and obviously that the maintenance of the condominium complex is up to date and in order. In Puerto Rico, there's been traditionally a little bit different way of doing things with regards to maybe maintenance. Every condominium complex is different, so there's not a way to say like condos in Puerto Rico, fill in the blank. It's not really possible. Thankfully, FHA, if you want to purchase a condo with an FHA loan, FHA publishes a list of pre-approved condominium complexes that you can already find on there and go visit them and see if they have units. Also, if you have access to the VA home loan benefit, the VA also publishes a list of condominiums that they've already vetted and approved. And if you pick one of those, it's already definitely warrantable and you'd be able to proceed. In a situation where you're trying to buy a condo and use a mortgage to do so, and you find out that it's not warrantable, we have a way around that. There are loan programs for non-warrantable condos, but the main criteria is going to be that it has master policy insurance. And in Spanish, en español se llama póliza maestra de seguro, right? So it needs to have that master policy insurance, which is essentially the insurance policy for the whole common spaces, the whole structure, as it were. So that's the main things to know about if you're interested in purchasing maybe a condo for yourself here on the island. Number 5, Puerto Rico is a wet sign territory, which means that for the closing, you're gonna have to physically be back on the island. If you're from here, obviously no issue. Hopefully you can commute. But if you're visiting to find a property and then are gonna leave, you're not gonna just be able to DocuSign the closing documents at settlement. You're gonna actually physically have to come back to the island, or you could do a power of attorney. So you could have, which is also slightly different in Puerto Rico. It can't just be, done from a distance. You have to physically be here to do the power of attorney. So if you're wanting to set that up when you're doing your shopping and then you want someone else to represent you at the closing, make sure you get that set up while you're visiting and purchasing or making offers, so that could be done in a streamlined way once you're ready to close. Okay. Up next, number 6 is if you're married. In Puerto Rico, any individual who's a married individual, the law essentially states that both married partners have to be on the mortgage loan application, on the promissory note, like on the actual mortgage note, and on the deed. There are ways around it, but it requires some extra steps. The main way that people choose to go around that law is what's called a post-nuptial agreement. You probably heard of a prenup. That's like when you meet and you decide, okay, if we split up in the future, this will be yours and this will be yours. Post-nup is just like it sounds. It's you've already become married, and now that in the event that you split up later, who would get what, and you basically meet with an attorney here on the island in person. You identify, okay, this property would be in my name if we split up, and then I'll have the ownership responsibility and the payment responsibility. It's like a couple $100s of a fee. They sign and file the paperwork, and you're good to go. You can purchase it just in one of the one spouse's name or in the other. Okay, so that's the marriage one. Number 7, wooden structures. If you're searching for properties and the property that you've fallen in love with that you want to make an offer on has like a large amount of that property is wooden in its structure, that's gonna produce some extra hurdles for you to be able to close on that. Mainly as certified engineer's inspection. So that's if it passes the inspection, then you'd likely be able to close. But that is an extra step, and many lenders are a little shy to loan on wooden structures, mainly because of termites. And the moisture also that can weaken the wood quickly here over time. It's a tropical island, so keep that in mind. Number 8 is multi-unit. So you can get a conventional loan on multi-units up to 4 units. Anything over 4 units, it's going to be considered commercial. we can help you. You can get an exception under certain circumstances. So it could be a five unit. We could help you get a conventional loan for that, possibly. I mean, we could help you get a loan. It wouldn't be a conventional loan. It would then become a non-QM loan, but it could be done. But anything over 4 units is going to be considered non-conventional. And so what you're going to need to make sure of is that when you're checking it out with, if you have the help of an agent, is in Puerto Rico sometimes, whether it's how many units can be a little bit of a question mark. Things to look for are how many kitchens, how many meters for electricity and water, right? If it's 1 meter for like a whole bunch of different units, well then there's that. Maybe it's just considered like a 1 unit. But if there's 2 meters for electricity and only 1 bathroom, and then there's a space downstairs that like doesn't have anything and it's unclear, the appraiser might say that, okay, well this is a 2 unit place. Being a 2 unit place, that's going to affect slightly the loan program. It's going to also affect like the type of, your interest rate and things like that. So be mindful when you're shopping at properties. If you're looking for a 1-bedroom place, make sure that there's, a 1 unit place, make sure that there's only 1 meter, that everything is like a continuous structure. If you're looking for multi-unit though, be looking for how many meters, how many bathrooms, and how many kitchens are in these different spaces. Okay, and up next, number 9, mixed use. It's common in Puerto Rico that somebody builds a structure, they want to live on top, they want to use the bottom as a business or an apartment and rent that out, or have the grandparents live in the apartment. And so like it gets built with one intention and then it gets used by subsequent owners with different intentions. So if it's a mixed use property, that's also going to be considered a commercial type loan, right? So you're not going to be able to get conventional financing on that. You're going to need to be looking for a commercial product if it is mixed use. Mixed use would look like, maybe it's a nice 3-bedroom up on top, but the first floor has just a toilet, no shower, and no kitchen. So that kind of a situation is going to indicate that, oh, this is a mixed use property that's not really fit for somebody to be able to live in on the bottom. Okay. The final tip that I'd like to offer, number 10, is that if you're in a rush, like if you're flying down here in a weekend, you want to run around, see a bunch of places, make an offer, get it accepted, and get to closing, that's not probably going to be a recipe for success. You got to take your time. This is just like with anything, right? If you rush driving to the grocery store, you're more likely to probably make a mistake. And so just like it is in every other place that you might buy real estate, if you come down here in a rush, or you're here on vacation and you're like really emotional and having a magical time and let's hurry up and make an offer on this place, not advisable, like it would be in any other place. So just make sure you do your homework, make sure you have a good team, a good agent, a good loan officer if you're looking for financing. And we here at Collab Lending would be super happy to help you with that. So don't hesitate to check the link and contact me, Nate Stewart, and be really happy to help you with that. So hope you found this video helpful, and any other questions, please leave a comment below. Let me know how I can improve my videos and any other content that you might be interested about. All right, thanks very much.